My parents kicked me out on my birthday, so I froze their cards and watched their life fall apart. I turned 30, and they celebrated by throwing me out. No cake, no hug, no sweet words, just a dry phrase, spat through their teeth: "You're too old to freeload. Pack your bags." The worst part wasn't that. The worst part was realizing they'd planned it, that they waited for my birthday to deliver the final blow, and I, the stupid loyal daughter, had been paying their bills for years: electricity, water, internet, even part of the mortgage, always excusing their coldness with lines like, "They're older, they're tired." That night I arrived with a cheap vanilla cake because something in me still hoped for a gesture. I left it on the counter without a word, no candle, no laughter, just silence, as if I didn't exist. Roque, my father, drank from his chipped glass. Elena, my mother, barely looked up. The cold meatloaf on the table felt more like an act of resentment disguised as dinner. Then they said it. "It's time for you to go." I didn't yell, didn't cry. I only said, "I pay internet, electricity, food." So what? Paying some bills doesn't give you the right to stay forever, princess. Princess. The nickname he used when he put band-aids on my knees was now a knife. I went upstairs with the cake in one hand and my dignity dragging behind me. The suitcases were already packed. Of course they were. They'd packed them. I sat on the bed and looked at the cake on the nightstand. Then, without thinking, I shoved it. It fell to the floor with a ridiculous thud, like my whole childhood. I remembered everything I'd done for them. The winter Roque broke a tooth and I paid for surgery with my savings. Elena's car accident when they called me crying and I left work to rescue them. The leaky roof I fixed alone in the rain while he shouted from the living room with a beer. And now this. I took a deep breath. Went to the desk. Opened my laptop. Click, canceled power. Click, water. Click, gas. Internet. Netflix. Everything. Even their car insurance. All in my name. All paid by me. I unfroze the joint account, the one my mother insisted on keeping. For emergencies. I pulled the floor out from under them without raising my voice. It wasn't revenge, it was dignity. The next day I left behind the house that was never a home and the people who only loved me as long as I solved their lives. But the story didn't end there. At 6:15 a.m., my phone went crazy. 12 missed calls: Elena, Roque, unknown numbers. A text from my cousin Sergio: no power. No internet. Dad's furious. Mom's crying. I let out a hollow laugh. They'd understood, and this was only the beginning. The silence after the chaos was delicious. I lay on Valeria's couch with a cup of cold coffee and my phone vibrating non-stop. "Honey, it must be a mistake. Call me, please. We're family." Elena weeping into a voicemail. "You'll regret turning your back on the people who gave you life." Roque in a venom-laced message. Family, what an empty word when it's only used to manipulate. I didn't answer. I wasn't giving them that power. Valeria, my best friend, walked in with dark circles and 2 coffees. She sat on the floor, looked at me, and calmly said, "Sometimes saving yourself isn't betrayal, it's survival." That day we went to the town festival: pumpkins, pies, kids playing. And there he was, Roque, my father, standing in the middle of the Bobbing for Apples booth, talking at the top of his lungs. Our daughter abandoned us. After all we sacrificed. Some nodded with pity. But others started remembering. A couple murmured, "Wasn't she the one who paid for his dental surgery?" Another woman asked, "And wasn't she the one who fixed the roof alone?" The tide began to turn. Not because I spoke, but because people already knew and now dared to say it. That night on Valeria's couch I got more messages. Photos of my old house, total darkness, papers piled at the door, the truck unmoved, and a line from Sergio: "Dad yelled at the power technician." The neighbors heard everything. "They're drowning." I didn't feel joy, but I didn't feel pity either. They weren't sad about losing me. They were furious about losing what I provided. The next morning, a new message: "Your father's health is deteriorating. He hasn't eaten in 2 days. Elena." Guilt tried to creep in. I remembered old birthdays, the laughter of childhood, but it didn't last because right after, Sergio wrote again. Dad told Mom to fake chest pain. Thinks you'll come back that way. That was their plan, fake illness. More manipulation. A slap. Confirmation. They didn't miss me. They needed me. It hurt that I was no longer their savior. That night I turned off my phone. Poured a glass of cheap wine with Valeria. And for the first time, I slept as if the weight of the world was no longer on my chest. Peace didn't last. 2 days later, while I was updating my resume, there was a knock. Hard, formal. Valeria looked at me. I opened the door, a police officer with an envelope. Isabella Marquez? Yes. You've been served. I went silent. Took the envelope. A lawsuit from Roque and Elena, theft, emotional abuse, financial abandonment, a legal tantrum disguised as justice. They wanted to destroy me for leaving. They didn't know it was too late. I was no longer the submissive daughter who crawled for love. I was a woman with proof, and I'd use it. The old me would have crumbled at the sight of that complaint. The new me just breathed and picked up the phone. Legal aid, how can we help? I told them everything, no tears, no shaking, every bill, every receipt, every bank transfer. I sent the digital folder I'd prepared weeks ago. When I finished, the lawyer on the line said, Ms. Marquez, not only do you have a solid case, you should be the one suing for exploitation. And so my countersuit began. I wasn't seeking revenge, just justice. I narrated it all, years paying their bills without demanding anything, favors disguised as obligations, emotional blackmail, guilt as a chain. Now it had a name: financial abuse under emotional coercion. A long name for a simple concept. They squeezed me like a human ATM. That afternoon I drafted the formal complaints, charges of financial exploitation, prolonged manipulation, improper use of personal resources. When the legal notice reached their house, the reaction was immediate. First, Elena, trembling voice, a whisper of poorly acted pity. Isabella, please, you're destroying this family. We never meant to hurt you. I hung up. An hour later, Roque sent one last message. Think you won? Family always has the last word. I read it once, then again. Then I went to my drawer and took out a cheap plastic cake topper, the one from the cake I bought the day they threw me out. A broken candle. Like I once was. Not anymore. Their words had no power. Their guilt didn't weigh on me. It didn't hurt to lose them because they were never truly mine. 2 days later I stood in front of the gray police building with a volunteer attorney at my side. In my hand, the evidence. Inside them. Roque, red with rage. Elena, shriveled, glassy-eyed. An officer explained calmly, filing false charges can result in countersuits for defamation, financial abuse, and manipulation. The evidence against them was clear. Roque jumped up, the chair screeched. This is a witch hunt. She's manipulating everyone. The officer didn't answer. No one did. Elena broke down sobbing, so loudly the echo bounced off the walls. It didn't affect me anymore. That crying wasn't love, it was panic, the fear of losing control. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The truth spoke for me. When we left, the officer looked me in the eyes. You did the right thing. Don't let them convince you otherwise. And finally I felt the sun. The air smelled like clean autumn. Like endings, like beginnings. As I walked away from the building, I felt each step lift another brick off the load I'd carried for decades. No more excuses. No more guilt. No more being the useful daughter. I was a free woman, ready to bury their lies, with my truth. I uploaded the folder, screenshots, transfers, emails, receipts year by year. Every cent I paid, every service in my name, every proof of the sacrifice they demanded of me as their daughter while giving nothing in return. Posting it was easy. Breathing while the world exploded was the hard part. First a few likes, then shares, then a tidal wave. I always wondered why that girl did everything in that house. I saw her repair the roof alone in the rain while her father drank on the porch. I heard Elena call her a burden, when it was actually the other way around. Neighbors, old teachers, classmates, everyone spoke up. Roque and Elena's mask fell. Not because I ripped it off, but because it was already cracked. It just needed a push. Roque tried to respond, families have disagreements. My daughter is exaggerating for sympathy. But no one believed him anymore. And why didn't you mention she paid your bills until now? Too sick to work but healthy enough to sue her? Comments shredded him. Then Elena, voice messages one after another. Isabella, honey, I didn't know you'd post that. It's all a misunderstanding. Please remove it before people think badly of us. Too late. Mom, that wasn't remorse, that was fear of a stained reputation, like her conscience. That afternoon Valeria and I went to the autumn fair. String lights, candy apples, kids running. The town, my childhood hell, was right where I'd left it, but something was different. They no longer looked at me with pity but with something new, understanding. An older woman, a former church friend of Elena's, came up, placed a hand on my shoulder, and whispered, "You deserved better, dear." We all knew it. We were just afraid to say it. Tears pricked my eyes, but I didn't cry. I just nodded, because for the first time I wasn't invisible. That night, as fireworks burst over the square and the sky burned red and gold, I allowed myself a smile. I had been the perfect daughter, the dedicated employee, the silent savior, and now I was free. Not because I ran, but because I survived the shipwreck and swam out alone. I didn't go back to my old house. I didn't answer more calls. I watched them fade from a distance, the shouting, the threats, the public humiliation, and their final blow, their ace up the sleeve, was still to come. I thought the worst had passed, but no. They had more. Monday morning. The air smelled of burnt leaves and cheap coffee. A soft, almost timid knock. A uniformed officer, a manila envelope. A new lawsuit, this time public. They wanted to drag me to court, before judges, neighbors, local press if possible. Charges: financial abuse of the elderly, family abandonment, psychological mistreatment, a parade of grand words to disguise the real thing, a miserable revenge because I took away the credit card. My lawyer read everything with a furrowed brow and a crooked smile. This isn't just false, it's suicidal. So we countered with documents, with evidence, with witnesses. One by one, mortgage receipts in my name, emails from Elena asking me to cover expenses, neighbor videos testifying how they'd seen me doing repairs, cleaning, hauling groceries. My lawyer prepared a countersuit, not out of spite but to defend me with the truth they thought I wouldn't dare say aloud. Days later, in the small county courtroom, I watched them walk in. Roque, red as always, jaw clenched. Elena, hands clasped, trembling, feigning fragility. The same people who called me a parasite now trying to pose as victims. But this time they weren't alone. There were reporters, community members, even Mrs. Raquelme, my old teacher, in the last row. The hearing was brief. The judge read each piece of evidence, each transfer, each message. My lawyer was precise, no drama, just facts. When it was Roque's turn, his voice shook with rage. She betrayed us. Left us sick and alone. The judge, unmoved, asked, "Can you prove she was legally obligated to support you? Do you have any document, any proof of legal or economic dependency?" Silence. Elena sobbed. "We only wanted her to take care of us. She's our daughter." The judge lowered his glasses. "And she was that, for years. More than you were parents." The ruling was clear, case dismissed. Countersuit accepted. Fine for defamation and financial abuse. 2,300. When the gavel fell, no one applauded. But the silence was deafening. I left the courthouse without looking back. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't need them for anything anymore. That day I didn't win money. I won something bigger, closure. I was no longer the daughter who gave everything hoping for love in return. I was the woman who survived her own family, and won. It's been 6 months since I stopped being the useful daughter. 6 months since I closed the door of that houseless house and opened the window of my own life. There are still days I wake expecting to hear someone shout my name so I'll come fix something, transfer money, or get blamed for their decisions. But those shouts don't come anymore, and the silence doesn't scare me. The silence is mine now. My new apartment isn't fancy, but every corner has my name on it. I bought a second-hand table. The legs wobble a bit, so I put a bottle cap underneath. I eat breakfast there every morning while the sun slips through the window. There's no one to interrupt, no one to criticize the watery coffee or mock my jam on toast. I got myself a plant. Her name is Flavia. She's a bit crooked, but still growing, like me. I painted the walls light blue, the shade that smells like clean air and possibility. Warm lights in the living room because I like my space to feel like a hug at the end of the day. Now I work from home. I get up early, tidy up, write, design. Sometimes I lose track of time. I no longer report to anyone but myself. And when I close the laptop at day's end, I know that effort is carrying me forward. Valeria remains my refuge and my laughter. Not a week goes by without her showing up with a pizza, a bottle of cheap wine, and some town gossip. Guess who went to the hardware store and couldn't pay because his card was declined? Roque, of course. We laughed. And yes, we sometimes cry, because some things still hurt, not because I want to go back to that hell, but because a part of me waited until the last minute to be chosen as a daughter, not a servant. But sometimes saving yourself means accepting they won't change, that it's up to you to rebuild with the pieces they never valued. I recovered things I didn't even know I'd lost: time, dignity, dreams. I started playing piano again like when I was a child. I bought a used keyboard and practice every night. Some keys sound off, others are out of tune, but it doesn't matter. I'm reconnecting with the version of me I locked away for years to hold everyone else up. I also returned to writing. My words don't tremble anymore. I no longer ask permission to tell my story. And the most beautiful part is that other women have written to me saying thank you. Your story gave me strength. I cried reading what you did, because I was also the daughter who paid for everything. Now I know I'm not crazy for wanting distance from my family. That sustained me. It made me feel useful, by choice, not by duty. Recently, I received a certified letter from a law firm. Elena had tried to appeal the ruling. She claimed she was ill, that she depended on me emotionally and financially, that the punishment was cruel. I didn't respond, and I won't open it. My lawyer says it's unlikely to go anywhere, but even if it did, they won't drag me back. I have a support network, a bank account that's only mine, a routine that anchors me, and most importantly, an identity that no longer depends on being the good daughter. Some afternoons I walk alone in the park and sit on the bench facing the lake to watch the ducks swim. The calm feels like a miracle. I remember the days I spent hours paying bills, driving through 3 towns for their meds, postponing my life so theirs wouldn't collapse. Now simply sitting without having to do anything for anyone feels like a gift that took years to earn. I found the birthday topper again in a box, the twisted candle, cheap plastic, but it doesn't hurt anymore. I put it on a shelf above my desk next to an empty frame. Not because I want to put a family photo there, but because that blank space reminds me I don't have to fill the gaps with those who harmed me. I can fill them with those who add to my life, who respect me, who see me and don't use me, with myself. And if someday someone arrives, a partner, a new friend, a family I build, I'll do it from wholeness, not from emptiness, from choice, not from need. Because I learned that a true family doesn't demand you break yourself to fit. A true family celebrates you whole. And if no one else ever comes, that's okay too, because now I have myself, and after all, that's more than enough.